The Idol is a new HBO television series created by Sam Levinson, Abel Tesfaye, aka The Weeknd, and Reza Fahim. All the episodes are directed by Sam Levinson. We follow the main character of Jocelyn, portrayed by Lily Rose Depp, who is a singer trying to reach the level of fame and critical acclaim that she once had. And to do this, she not only needs to start writing and making more music to allow herself to go on tour, she also wants to create more of a sensual, sexual image for people to perceive her as. And that's where the character Tedros, portrayed by Abel Tesfaye, comes into play, and he helps her to craft this image and craft a unique sound amongst the pop music landscape. Before I talk about my thoughts on the show and how I felt going into it and how I feel about it now, I just want to address real quick. Obviously, there are some different things going on with this video here. I don't have my microphone like I usually do in my hands. I have it set up a little bit differently. You guys can't see it, but it's like right over here. And I just want to see if that affects the sound quality, and also my lighting is a little bit different. So I'm just trying out different things with the visual and audio of this video here. Any feedback is very helpful for me, so please let me know if it sounds good, if it looks good, or if it sounds bad and it looks awful. I would especially like to know that so I can try to change some things. Going back to The Idol, I was very intrigued by how the show was going to turn out. I did not know what it was about at all. I just knew some of the people that were involved in it. Sam Levinson, who obviously comes from the show Euphoria, another HBO property, which is one that I really enjoyed. I really like Euphoria, both seasons that we've had so far. And then, of course, Abel, aka The Weeknd, being involved with this as a creator, as one of the writers, and one of the stars in it too. Look, I've had my issues with The Weeknd's music in the past, and I don't always find him to be the most consistent artist in the world, but I'm always very intrigued by what he's going to come out with next. And I've heard that he's making another album. It's going to be the last one as The Weeknd, so I look forward to how that's going to turn out. And I was especially interested by the fact that he was acting in this too, because for those of you who don't know, he kind of lays low and doesn't do a whole lot of interviews. Like, rarely ever does any interviews, actually. He's a pretty mysterious guy. I mean, he will make videos, makes lots of music, but doesn't do a whole lot of press for what he makes. So I was kind of surprised that he was putting himself out there this much and being one of the main two stars in a TV show that was definitely going to get lots of viewers. Abel's also pretty heavily involved with the music for the show, along with Mike Dean and Sam Levinson as well. So all these different things that I've heard about and knew about going into the show, and also just some of the other cast members that are recurring roles in the 5 episodes that we have here, and some guest actors too. I was just curious to see how this would turn out. Thought this could be cool. Everyone is shitting on this show right now. I haven't heard pretty much anything good about it from other people, from things I've read, watched, heard in general. Everyone dislikes this thing, apparently. And I think there is some merit to that, to be honest. I think that this show does do a lot of things wrong, and I think that it's also just a big case of wasted potential. That's a phrase I would use here, because there are a lot of things here that should have worked, and there are some good ideas and some intriguing concepts that they go over and they present here. I like the idea of following a singer, following an artist, trying to make kind of their big comeback into the spotlight and trying to reach those heights again that they had once achieved. And we do get some interesting setups with behind the scenes stuff, filming the music video or recording in the studio, and different people that are in the studio with Jocelyn and trying to influence her decisions for what to do for a particular track that they're working on. And there's also a kind of generic, but I think fairly well explored subplot with regards to Jocelyn's past and something in particular that had happened with her and her mother when she was younger, and how she kind of put this aside and kind of tried not to think about it a little bit, but Tedros convinces her to use this as inspiration and as motivation with the art that she creates. This leads to what I think is maybe the best scene in the entire show, the very end of episode 3, which is honestly an awful episode leading up to this, like probably the worst in the entire season if it weren't for the last scene, which this last scene I think is very good, and I think there is some good dialogue between Jocelyn and Tedros going back and forth, and he's really questioning her and trying to get the truth out of her and sort of dig deeper into her emotional psyche, I guess. But as I said, a lot of the show does have some wasted potential, in my opinion, and some interesting ideas that they touch on and they present to us, but are just so rushed and glossed over. Like, for example, there's one aspect that's presented in the back end of the season where a character is kind of forced into taking a photo with someone else, but then this photo, I believe, at least online, and then it kind of makes him seem like he's someone that he's not, and then the impact of this photo is very harmful to his career, potentially harmful, but we hear almost nothing about it. There's one scene where we just hear a little bit of stuff that's happened as a result of this photo coming out. This could have been a compelling conflict that some of our characters go through, and a good way to advance the story as well, and kind of bring some of the focus out of what is mainly being explored with Jocelyn trying to record music and all the stuff I had said before. But it is just touched on so briefly, and they just basically were like, oh, whatever, we don't care about that. Let's focus more on Jocelyn and all of her friends that are living with her, I guess. I don't know, they all just kind of show up at a certain point in the season in her big house. I don't know what that was about. Now, the main complaints with the show that I've heard relate to the dialogue, the acting, and as well as the kind of overuse of nudity and sexual related scenes that happen or that are kind of insinuated to happen. It is a little much for me, to be honest, at certain times in this season. I don't mind nudity in TV shows and in movies. I'm not someone that's opposed to it or grossed out by it for the most part. But it made the show difficult to take seriously for me. Not only that, but also the dialogue makes a lot of the characters just flat out unlikable after there are, potentially likable characters from the setup. As I do think the first episode is okay. I think it is a fine setup for what is to come later in the season. And I love the song choice at the very end, the ending credits. It also kind of fits in with some of the stuff that had happened earlier. I thought that was super cool. But then, yeah, after that, it's basically just a giant plummet that just continuously goes down until the show's conclusion, not only with the acting, but with the dialogue, and just the quality in general really takes a downhill turn from that point on. I didn't think all the acting was that bad, though. Hank Azaria plays a recurring role in the show, one of Jocelyn's managers. I thought he was easily one of the better characters in the show, one of the more reasonable ones, and just, not stupid ones, if I may say so. Lily Rose Depp and Abel Tesfaye are at times good. They have their moments where they're okay, and they have some decent banter at times, but a lot of the show I was just not very convinced by their acting, and frankly by pretty much everyone else in the show. Going back to wasted ideas, the ending could have been pretty good. It could have been a satisfying direction that our characters go in, kind of putting Tedros to the side and kind of leaving him and not having him be a part of their lives anymore, as it kind of just makes things really difficult for all these characters, to say it vaguely. He just makes life not that great for these people with how controlling, demanding, and abusive he is. And so they kind of move on from him and go on to do their own thing, but then what happens at the very end just absolutely crushes all of that. They abandon everything that they were starting to do and set up for these characters for their futures. It was an awful ending, in my opinion. Maybe not the worst way the show could have ended, but at the time watching the ending of the final episode, that was kind of what I was thinking. So the show did have some good ideas to me. It had a few good scenes, a couple decent performances. I do think the show looks really good. They do a good job at achieving that kind of Hollywood pop star lifestyle, LA, I believe that's where she lives. I didn't mind a good amount of the music as well. It's not only some of the newer stuff that was written for the show, but some older songs that pop in some of the episodes. One in particular in episode 4, that was super cool, great song. Totally unexpected to be in this kind of show, but I thought it works, even though the scene it was in wasn't that great. It was still just cool hearing that song. Overall, I'd give season 1 of The Idol a 4.5 out of 10. I don't think it's quite as bad as everyone's saying it is, and I honestly question if a lot of people that are criticizing it have even watched it all the way through, because I think there are definitely some people out there, certain comments they've made and statements they've said about it, if they've actually seen the entire show, because it doesn't really appear that accurate for the entirety of the show, if you ask me. I get it though, if you don't want to watch the whole show, that's understandable. Most likely, if you pick just a random scene from the show, it's probably not going to be that great. The odds are kind of in that favor. And I'll just end this review by saying if there is a season 2, hopefully it is better. Hopefully there's more focus and less cringe. But thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate that, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.